Hi, I'm Brenna Baki. I am the owner of CoaFit Studio in Boulder, Colorado, and this is a quick video about introduction to macro eating that is a follow-up to our free community event that we had back in April of 2024. If you're interested in our community events, please go to our website at www.coafitusa, all one, coafitusa.com, and click on events for our upcoming community events. So I'll just briefly go over what macro eating is. So macro is short for macronutrients. So the macronutrients in your diet is protein, fat, and carbohydrates. So macro eating is basically just a way of calculating, a way of eating a balanced diet of those three major macronutrients to help provide your body with the nutrition it needs for performance, recovery, and then based on your goals, whether you're looking to build muscle, whether you're looking for weight loss, there's certain calculations, and you can download the PDF that I'll put a link to here below so that you can kind of follow along and see how you would calculate your particular macronutrients for your goals and your body. So if you haven't already, open up the PDF or the Google Drive link, whichever works best for you, and kind of follow along on the form that helps you calculate your macros. You can kind of go through this on your own. I'll run through it really quickly. Feel free to pause me at any point. But again, I just wanted to make this kind of a quick recap for people who couldn't make it. So the first thing, I'm just gonna watch my notes. The first thing that we're doing is establishing a baseline of calories. So this is like all encompassing of all the macronutrients. We're looking at how many calories per day that we should be taking in. So if you're looking at the PDF, there's a little chart there based on activity level, of daily activity level, of how you would calculate your baseline calories. So this is kind of a maintenance calorie based on activity level and your current weight. Once you've adjusted your baseline calories, then you're gonna think about what your goal is. So if your goal is to kind of build mass, build muscle mass especially, you may want to increase your calorie goals. If you're looking for weight loss, you're going to decrease your calorie intake for the day. So there's, you'll see kind of that deficit surplus on the PDF. You can kind of read through there and decide what works best for you based on your goals. If you are primarily looking for weight loss, most people tell me, well, I'd like to build muscle and lose weight. It's really hard to do both at the same time. If you're looking to look more cut and you are someone who's carrying extra weight, you may be looking at more of a weight loss goal. There may actually be more muscle there than you think. But it's hard to build muscle when you're in a deficit of calories. Hypertrophy requires a certain amount of calories and not a deficit in order to actually build or gain muscle mass. So if you're choosing a deficit for weight loss, you'll see in the next category, there's kind of percentages and there's pros and cons to each kind of percentage of deficit, meaning 10 to 15% deficit, 20 to 25%. So kind of based on your goals and what you're looking for and the time frame that you're looking for, you can choose where you want to be in your deficit. And you'll see in each box, there's pros and cons to what you decide for each of those categories. And then our final step to just finding the calories, so this is just the overall calories that intake per day, is to just figure out that deficit if we're having it or that surplus. So there's a little calculation that you can see at the bottom of all of those graphs that will help you get to kind of your baseline calories. And then from there, we can actually start to divide up those calories into how many of those should be from fat, how many of those should be from protein, and how many of those should be from carbohydrates. So this is where we're gonna start to divide them up so that we're not just eating a whole 2,000 calories of just carbohydrates. which leaves us without enough protein to feel satiated or fat to feel satiated. There's a lot of missing things that happen. We need protein to build muscle. This is just kind of the start of like, okay, what's our overall kind of allowance for the day? And then we'll look at the equation to kind of divide it up into protein, fat, and carbohydrates. So the easiest thing we're gonna do is, easiest to calculate is protein. And everyone's always very shocked by this number, but what you're aiming for, especially if you're an athlete, is 1 gram, at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you are someone that has a lot of weight to lose, you can also do this as 1 gram per ideal weight. I don't really love that, but maybe goal weight of what you think you should be. So if you're someone that's 230 pounds and you think you should be 150 pounds, or that's your goal, you can do 150 grams of protein instead of the 230. But for most of us, it's gonna be 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And that's the starting point of the protein. You don't have to hit this tomorrow. This is something that you can work up to over the next weeks, just kind of trying to get more protein into your diet and how that feels. If you're not a person who eats a lot of fruits and vegetables, you will have to start. Protein can create a constipation if you're not used to eating a lot of it, so you will need to be making sure that you're taking in fruits and vegetables for that hydration and that fiber. Fat is gonna be about 25 to 30% or more of your overall calories for the day. So I don't know, I'll show you how to calculate that in a bit. But you're looking at a 25 to 30%, that's a good place to start. I'm a person who needs a little bit more fat, so I actually go up into like between 30 and 35%. And it's just something that you have to kind of figure out for yourself. And then finally, our carbohydrates are kind of how many calories go to our carbohydrates is whatever's left. So after we've calculated how many calories our protein takes up, we have that 25 to 30% of the fat, and then whatever's left, that we're gonna try and get from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates aren't just bread. Vegetables are carbohydrates, fruits are carbohydrates. So just keep that in mind, that this doesn't mean just starchy carbohydrates, it means overall your carbohydrates for the day. Okay, so we should have the easy calculation of protein. Body weight times 1. So whatever you weigh is how many grams of protein you're taking in per day. You're gonna times that number by 4, and you can follow along on the form here. That's because there's 4 calories in each gram of protein. So that's gonna figure out how many calories our protein intake is gonna take up from that overall number that we figured out earlier. And then our fat is gonna be that 25 to 30% of our overall baseline calories that we figured out with our deficit before. So you're just gonna calculate 25% of those calories, or 25, 30%, whatever it is. And so you'll get that calorie number. So now we're gonna add that protein calorie number, not the gram number, so the calorie number, that's your body weight, your 1 gram per pound of body weight, so your body weight number times that 4 to get those calories. So it's gonna be that calorie number added by that fat calorie number, which is at 25 to 30% of your overall calories. You're gonna add those together, and then you're gonna take your overall calories and subtract it from that protein and fat number, and that's gonna give you the amount of calories that are gonna be coming from your carbohydrates. And then we'll convert all this back into grams to make life a little easier so that you're not tracking just based on calorie. So your proteins are already converted into grams, right? So it's that 1 gram per pound of body weight. We got that. So our total fat, we're gonna take the amount of calories that 25 to 30% number gave us, and we're gonna divide that by 9. And that's just because there's 9 calories per gram of fat. And so we're gonna divide that by 9. That's gonna give us the grams of fat that we have. And then our carbohydrates, we have that number that we just figured out of calories. So we're gonna divide that by 4, and that's gonna give us our carbohydrate number in grams. Again, follow along on this worksheet, otherwise this could be very confusing, and you can kind of work this out yourself. So now you have your grams of protein, your grams of fat, and your grams of carbohydrates. that you should be eating each day. This isn't cemented in stone. This may not work for you. It may feel like it's a little too little. Like for me, I'm usually up from these numbers. So I eat a little bit more calories and so a little bit more grams, especially of the protein. And like I said, I'm in that 30 to 35% of fat. So that's something I've just worked out over time. I've just given it time and been like, oh, I'm a little hungry when I don't get that. I don't recover well when I get that. And I've just kind of played with the numbers. When you're playing with the numbers, it's small movements. It's not 400 or 500 calories in one department, pulling out of one department to the other. So these are just kind of a jumping off point for macro eating, and then you can kind of adjust what you need to feel good and feel like you're not kind of depriving yourself, because that's definitely not what we want. So you can kind of adjust those numbers as you go. You can also work your way into this slowly. The hardest thing that people have is getting the protein in if they're not used to getting that protein in. So take some time to work your numbers up. Most of us, because I think the RDA is like, the recommended daily allowance is like 50 grams or something like that. So a lot of us are only taking in around 50 grams of protein a day. So it's gonna take a while to get you up to, 120, 150, 200, wherever you are, based on that calculation. So take your time, take a month or two to work yourself up into that protein. It will start to make you feel more full, which will then keep you, not keep you from eating, but thinking of that calorie, that kind of deficit. If you did do that, you should not feel hungry when you're doing this. You should feel almost like you have to eat too much. That's what most people feel when they jump on it. And then once you're in it for a while, like I said, you can kind of play with your numbers and see what works for you. Protein's important, not only for feeling full, but also for recovery. If you're athletic, it's gonna be super important for your muscle building, for your joint health, everything. Reducing the loss of muscle mass after the age of 35. For every decade, we're losing close to 10% of our muscle mass. So eating a good amount of protein helps keep that at bay a little bit. So the protein number is gonna be, I sometimes just tell people, just focus on that and don't worry about anything else until you get that number dialed in. The second most important thing I would say is fiber and hydration. So making sure that you're eating enough fruits and vegetables and drinking enough water. If you're just kind of pounding protein in, but you're not taking any fiber, you're not drinking anything, you can get a lot of GI issues. So making sure that you're getting around 25 grams of fiber a day and that you're drinking plenty of water throughout the day. So you have this pretty wrapped up, you have your baseline numbers, and this is, like I said, a good starting point. And then there's a lot of coaches online that do mostly nutritional work in this macro world. So if you do need help, feel free to email me. I am definitely not the most read up on this. This is just kind of, I wanted to give you guys an introduction to it. It's something that I've been doing. It's something that I help my clients do. And I wanted to just give this information out here so that you could just give it a test drive if you want. And then if you want to dive into it deeper, I can also point you to some resources and some people that can help kind of coach you if that's what you're looking for. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Reach out with any questions or post them below. Thanks so much.